So, I haven't met many people in the audience here today at all, but judging by the size of it, maybe I have. For the people who I haven't met, I'm willing to bet that I know you guys pretty well, actually, without knowing your name, where you're from, or even what you're doing here. About a month ago, I came across this website known as the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. And what the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows is it puts words to feelings that we didn't know existed or didn't know we could describe. My two favorite examples are Sonder and exulances. And Sonder is the realization that everyone around you has the same amount of deep thoughts as you do and has just the same complex life as you do. So think about how many thoughts you go through in one day, how complex your life is. And Sonder is the realization that everyone else around you goes through the same thing. And exulances is a tendency to stop talking about an experience because you know the other person will never fully understand. So no matter how good you can tell a story, no matter how well you can paint a picture, the other person will never fully understand your experience. And that's interesting because every time I tell my friends this, every time it comes up in conversation, they always tell me, wow, I had no idea this existed, or I didn't know other people felt this way, I feel it too. And it's a way to get common ground with people. It's a way to understand and know people. Another important principle, I read this in a book called Getting to Action, written by a man named Archie. It says that the longer we wait to start a task, the harder the task becomes to start, to complete, and to complete with relative ease. So at the same time where I'm looking at websites with weird definitions for words, I had to take a test at a different university, and they told me to email this other university with 5 times where I'd be free to take this test. So I'm thinking, perfect, this will take less than 2 minutes, I'll knock it out as soon as I'm done with my homework. And so I finished my homework, and then I think, I deserve a break, I'll push it off. So I didn't do the email. So I kept pushing it off further and further and further until the day before it was due. And the day before it was due, I remember just dreading this task. I said, I do not want to do this. I don't know why this is the hardest thing in the world, but I did not want to do it. And so when I finally did do it, it took me over 5 minutes to write an email. That's 1 sentence long. It says, hey, I'm free at these times. Thanks, Jackson. It took me over 5 minutes to do. And when I sent it and when I finished it, I felt like, geez, I had done my entire coursework in this one email. I felt relieved. And so I asked myself, I said, why do we do that? Why do we procrastinate so much? But more importantly, why do we feel so bad doing it? Because if you think about it, procrastination is simply putting off an unpleasant task with a pleasant one. You don't want to do your homework, so you go hang out with your friends. You don't want to study, so you go watch Netflix. You don't want to give a speech, so you pretend that you're sick, which is probably what I should have done. I'm just kidding. But the same way I can relate to you guys through feelings like exulances and Sonder, I can also relate to you guys through your fears. Fears that maybe you didn't think you had. Fears that probably play a bigger role in your life than what you might think. Fears that exist amongst all of us. And that's the fear of mediocrity, the fear of being average, the fear of blending in, the fear of not standing out. I want you to ask yourselves this question: why do you do what you do? Think about whether it's your job, hobbies, end goals. Why do you do it? Why do you like it? Why is it appealing to you? You might tell me it makes me feel good. It gives me a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, a sense of achievement. I take pride in what I do, and that's great. But what I'm saying is that whatever it is you enjoy, it gives you a competitive edge. It gives you a competitive advantage over your peers. In fact, in your mind, it makes you an above-average person, and you like that. We all like that. And so when we come to these opportunities that we end up procrastinating over, the reason we feel so bad, despite doing pleasant activities, we still have that knowledge in the back of our head that, hey, there's something we have to do. There's something we should be doing, something much more productive. The reason we have that is because when we procrastinate, and if we miss our deadlines, we essentially forfeited an opportunity to be above average. We accepted mediocrity. We accepted being average. And we don't like that. Maybe you're not completely convinced. That's okay. I want you to imagine now Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you don't know what that is, I'll describe it. So imagine a triangle, and the triangle has 5 layers on it. Each layer is a need that needs to be satisfied before moving on to the next layer. So at the very bottom, you have your physiological needs. That's your need to use the restroom, to eat, to sleep, to drink, all that good stuff. Then you have your safety needs. You have to feel safe and secure with what you're doing. Then you have your group needs, your belonging needs. We have to belong to a certain social group, and we have to feel that sense of belonging with them. Then you have your esteem needs. how you feel about yourself. Do you love yourself enough? Do you appreciate yourself enough? And at the very top, that top tier need, once you've satisfied everything else, is self-actualization, self-fulfillment, living to your fullest potential, being above average. So when we're not doing that, we feel it and we notice it. And it's the fear of mediocrity, the fear of being average that kicks us into drive and gives us the motivation. The fear of mediocrity is a baseline fear that you and I all share. And when I say fear, it's not the kind of fear you think about where you're in your room at night shaking in your covers because you thought you heard a ghost. It's a distaste, it's an anger, it's a hatred towards the idea of you being something less than what you can achieve, something that you need to achieve, according to this Maslow's theory. So think about it. When you're hungry, you feel it. When you violate these needs, you feel it. When you're not safe, when your security is threatened, you feel it. Maybe you got into a fight with your friends, your group needs, and you notice a disconnect amongst your group. Well, you feel it. And maybe sometimes you don't appreciate yourself. Maybe sometimes you don't love yourself enough. Well, you feel that too. So when you're not living a self-fulfilled life, when you're not going to your highest potential, you feel that. And that's that feeling you get when you procrastinate. That's that feeling you get when you know there's something better you could be doing for yourself because your body needs you to do it. The same way you need to eat, you need to live to your fullest power. So why aren't we doing it? And what do we do with that information now that we have it? I wish I had some nice advice to give you guys. I wish I could say something profound and deep and philosophical. But the advice is simple. The answer is simple. But it's something we all forget and all overlook. We have to do. We have to act. We have to move down the path that I know everyone here has because the fear of mediocrity tells me you have it. And your need, not want, not wish, but your need to live a self-fulfilled life to your fullest potential tells me you have dreams and aspirations. And it makes you feel good when you achieve it. And when you don't, you feel bad. So you have to act. Ralph Waldo Emerson states in his book that he who moves confidently in the direction of his dreams will find success within common hours. Seneca writes in his book on the shortness of life, which his book states that life is long enough to do everything we want to do. We just use our time so inefficiently, it appears short. But he says that the biggest waste of time is procrastination. The biggest waste of life is putting things off to another day. So we have to act. We have to do something. It's what you want to do. And it's what you want everyone else to do. However, like I said before, there's a lot of things that make us the same. I can relate to you guys on a lot. Through exulances, through Sonder, through this fear of mediocrity that we all share. But a difference does lie within us. The difference is those who do and those who don't. Because there'll be people here today that will listen to this and they'll think, awesome, good speech, I'm about it. But they won't act. They won't achieve. And you'll be stuck in this cycle of not being satisfied. Because the same way you feel hungry when you don't eat, you feel hungry up here when you're not living yourself to the fullest power, to the fullest extent. You don't drown in the water by jumping in it. You drown in the water by standing still. Thank you, guys.